Hey everybody, welcome back to Grain Free Homestead. I'm Stephanie, and today we have a new video for you all on canning marinara or spaghetti sauce and the way that I do it. It's a little bit different than other people, so I just wanted to show you all how we do it. I know there's a lot of people out here that do it like this, but when I first started canning, I just didn't think to do it this way. So you'll see in the video here in just a minute, but basically we're making tomato sauce, and now this is marinara sauce because we've gone through so much of what we have that I need some extra marinara sauce. But I love canning in the fall and in the winter, and for multiple reasons. You know, when everything's coming in the garden, there is so much coming in, you just can't can enough. You could be canning all day, every day, and I can't do that. You know how life is. So I like to take my tomatoes and put them and store them in the freezer. I used to just throw them in there, core and stem and all, and I don't do that anymore. So I have a little core. Let me show you. It's actually for strawberries. You see that? It works perfect. I'm going to show you on this tomato. Take this one here, and you just literally, it cores all of this out perfectly. Now we are in zone 6A, we're in Kentucky, so we still have some good looking tomatoes, but not very many. We're down to the nitty gritty on that. But anyways, what I do is I core these, I wash them and core them, get all the core out, and then I throw them in the freezer. So when I get them out, so when I'm ready to can, all I have to do is I put them straight in my roaster. I have a Nesco roaster, and I roast them in it, and the skins, as they start to warm, just a few degrees, the skin just like peels right off. And so I just stand there for a few minutes and get the peels off. They come right off. I don't have to do anything else. And then I roast my tomatoes in there. I'm gonna say it does take a minimum of 24 hours, if not, 36, on getting the tomatoes roasted down. Mostly because, and you'll see in the video, is I like my sauce pretty thick, like what you buy at the store. And so I reduce the liquid that's in the tomatoes by half. And you'll see that here coming up. But another reason that I like to can in the winter and fall is, I don't know if you guys are like us, but it's always this game of how long can we go without turning the furnace on. So I like to can. It warms the house up, whereas in the summertime it's heating the house up, the air conditioning's running, and so I like to put off what I can until later in the fall and in the winter time. So it's not winter yet, but it is, we've had freezing nights several. I mean, we were down to 26 one night, so that's pretty cold already. And heating the house up, I just don't feel as bad about it. It warms up the house and makes everything smell good, so I like to do that too. Also, like I said, it's a time saver. When you don't have time in the summer when tomatoes are coming in July and August, we have tomatoes coming in so fast we can't hardly keep up. So come along with me. I'm going to show you guys my process of marinara. I put spaghetti sauce on my jars because a lot of times, let's face it, my kids are the ones that are running downstairs and getting around the pantry for me. So I'll put spaghetti sauce on there, but it's just marinara sauce. In my marinara, we have homegrown onion, there's garlic, homegrown basil, salt, pepper, and a little bit of sweetener or sugar, depends on if you're keto or not. I do use monk fruit if it is keto, and that's usually how I sweeten things. That's one of the reasons I make my own spaghetti sauce, is because I want to know the ingredients that are in it. And the marinara sauce that I need to buy to be keto is like $4.99 a jar, and sometimes more. Like at that Rouse is like $8.99 a jar, and that was a year ago. I don't even know what it is now. So I like to make my own because I know there's no sugar in it. I know I control the carbs that are in it and other ingredients. I am celiac, so I have to be careful. Even though marinara and spaghetti sauce usually does not have any kind of flour or wheat in it, it's still good to know what's in what you're eating. Alrighty, let's get going on this. So you can see here that I had several bags in the freezer. I think it was 8 or 9 bags that I had put back to save for later. You can see here as I pull the tomatoes out that they're already cored. I washed them, cored them, and so all I have to do is I just put them in this roaster, and as the temperature rises, and really it's just a few degrees, like the tomatoes are still cold, I'll start skinning them once I get them all in the roaster. So this is a mix of tomatoes. I have some Jet Stars and San Marzanos and Romas, and we were highly impressed with the San Marzanos. This is my Nesco roaster. You do want your temperature to be around 275, 300 while you're roasting your tomatoes. Since they're already washed and cored, I'm literally just dumping these tomatoes in here. I'm filling it up as full as I can get it. It's even like mounded up a little bit because they cook down so quickly. As they start to thaw, I'll be able to fit all of these bags in the roaster. So I think I get about 4 bags to start with, kind of arrange them, put the little ones in between the cracks, that sort of thing. And you're able to get more in there than you think you can. So I have those 4 bags there, still needing to squeeze those in the roaster, but it doesn't take very long, an hour or so, and these tomatoes are really cooked down. Here in just a few minutes, I'm going to start skinning them, and then I'll add a bag or 2 at a time, and then skin those as they warm up as well. So you can see how easily the skin just comes right off, and they're still frozen. You can see the white on the tomatoes, so I'm not dealing with super hot tomatoes. If I had forgot or something, you know, they may get really hot, but these weren't at all. I also kind of cut the big tomatoes in half, and it makes room for more. And I don't know, I'd say it took about an hour or so, and I was able to get all of the tomatoes down inside the roaster there. Here, me and Hannah are kind of double checking to make sure all the skins are off. That last bag that I added, everything is at the top. We're just getting those skins off. And once I get all those done, I'll kind of stir it around just to make sure. And the skins are real easy to see, and they come off almost by themselves at that point once everything's all nice and warm. This here is after about 6-8 hours or so of just evaporation and cooking the liquid off of these tomatoes. The more you get it cooked down, the thicker your sauce will be. Okay, now we're on to the next day. It has reduced by about half, if you can look and see the top of the rim there. And I kind of turn the heat up here just to get it to evaporate as much as it can in the next little bit. Okay, so here I'm just chopping up some onion from our garden. We've got a lot of homegrown onion, and I love the onion flavor in marinara sauce, so I'm just trying to use some of that up. Here I'm starting to add the rest of the ingredients to the marinara sauce. the seasonings. So this is Italian seasoning. 2 to 3 tablespoons is what I add of it. Next is pink Himalayan salt, or whatever salt that you have. I don't recommend iodized salt because you will be canning and it doesn't do well when canning, but this is what I have on hand, so that's what I'm going to use. Next is my black pepper. I get all my spices in bulk from Azure Standard. If you've never used Azure Standard and you like to have your own spices on hand, bulk spices, I highly recommend checking them out. I can put a link in the description below. This here's my basil from last year that I dried the leaves out. I dehydrated the leaves, and I'm still using that up. And let's see here. Like I said, I don't measure much. I just add and add until it looks right. And then I'll do a taste test and see if I need to add anything else. That's just how I cook, guys. Of course, we gotta have some garlic powder. This also is from Azure Standard. I just reuse my old spice containers and I refill them every time. I also add some minced garlic. In my last batch I had fresh garlic, but I'm saving what I have left to plant for next year, so I didn't want to use all that up. I would say that I put about 3 tablespoons of garlic in there. If I'd had some of my fresh garlic, I probably would have put a little bit more, to be honest. Last but not least is the onion. I'm gonna guess that is 3/4 to a cup of onion. It just adds a depth to the flavor that's wonderful. Here I'm stirring everything together, and I'm gonna keep stirring this. I let it cook down for probably a half an hour into an hour. And now I am using my immersion blender. If you do not have one, it really does make this a much easier process, but you could use a blender if you don't have an immersion blender. I'm just making sure I'm getting all the big chunks of tomatoes, whole tomatoes, even some of the onions blended up in there. And once I get this blended up, I do let this simmer down for another hour or so with the lid off to get any extra, any more moisture that I can. The thicker the sauce, the better. Next, I've got my clean and sanitized jars that I'm getting out here. I like to have quart size marinara, but the pints are great for smaller batches or when we make pizza. You can see the sauce here. It's good and thick. It smells amazing. I wish you guys could smell it. My family actually liked this sauce much better than the high-end sauce that we've tried from the grocery store. So this was a win-win for us. I'm just going to ladle the marinara sauce into these jars. Somehow on the video it did not catch me pouring that on there. But the jars are all filled up. I wipe them off with vinegar around the rims, putting them in the canner here, just like usual. So you process for 40 minutes. So once you get your canner back up to boil, once the lid is on, then that is your process time. So you can set your timer from there or keep an eye on the clock. But you're just going to let these boil for 40 minutes. So our processing time is up here, and I'm just getting everything out. I'm going to let these sit out on a towel on the counter, and they'll seal, and the next day I will remove all of the rings and wipe them down with like a vinegar water wash rag to get all the stickiness off so they store well, and it just keeps for a clean pantry. And then the last thing that I'll do is label all of the jars so we know exactly what we have, because believe it or not, you can get things mixed up. That little jar there will be for pizza sauce. I like those little jars for that. We did end up with 6 quarts and 6.5 pints of marinara sauce to add to our pantry. And I just want to say thanks for joining us, guys. If you don't mind, give us a like, a subscribe. It really does help us out so much. and hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you on the next one.